Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Scorch Report. I know it's been a while. Unfortunately, last week I got hit with the flu, so I wasn't able to get a video up to you guys. But we're back now. In case you missed it, in the last episode, we recapped the divisional games and gave our predictions for the conference championships. Those have since happened, so we're going to go ahead and recap those games today and obviously give our predictions for the Super Bowl. Let's do it. All right, let's jump right into it. Obviously, this is a different look from what you guys have seen in the past. We usually have the bracket up and we kind of just go game by game. But since there's only 2 games and then the Super Bowl, we're just going to pull up the box score and kind of talk about a few things and just kind of go through it all. I'm starting with this game. Obviously, this one hurts my heart a little bit, but let's just get it out of the way and get it over with. Yes, my Broncos did lose. Am I happy about it? Of course not. This is just a tough game to dissect just because, obviously, you guys know the second half was a total blizzard. Not a lot of real football was being played. You know, I can get it more into how about, the weather and football and everything like that. But I digress. Obviously, Jared Stidham didn't play great in this game. May didn't really exactly play great. I don't think anyone could have in these circumstances. Obviously, Stidham had that huge, costly turnover where he allegedly threw the ball backwards, even though the defender hit his arm, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But he didn't look great, and it was, I don't know, did we expect him to look great? He hadn't taken a snap all season, and they threw him right into the AFC Championship game against one of the best teams in the league. This is what we kind of expected. Obviously, we didn't expect the blizzard in the second half based on what it was looking like before and during the game, but 10-7 is the final score. I honestly, yes, it was tough that Jared Stidham was the quarterback, but I don't think there much differently would have been an outcome with Bo Nix at quarterback. I mean, I think his legs would have been very crucial, as we saw Drake May's were. He went 10 for 65 here, and a lot of those were huge third down runs to pick up first downs and keep drives moving. And I think one of those ended up being a field goal. Obviously, the touchdown came pretty easily to them because of that fumble, and who knows if that doesn't happen, if they even score more than 3 points. The Broncos' defense was absolutely locking them down on their side of the field for a majority of this game, and then the fumble happened, and it just honestly gave them 3 points. It gave them 3 points, and that was super unfortunate. No run game for really either team other than the quarterback scrambles. And yeah, this is just an unfortunate situation. Bo Nix goes down with an injury the game before. No points can be scored in the second half because of the conditions. And I think this really highlights an issue with why weather is really affecting these playoff games when a lot of these teams should be playing in domes. And I think that's why a lot of teams are transitioning to domes. Maybe I'm salty that we lost because of this, but I genuinely do think that, although the weather games are fun and can get exciting, it just, how can one of those weather games determine a playoff outcome? I just don't think, I think that's where the line needs to be crossed. You can have these like retractable roofs on these stadiums to where, you can have the weather games during the regular season, but during the playoffs, I think those roofs got to be shut, and, it's just got to be the best team beating the best team. And I don't think the best team won in this situation, but again, I digress. The Patriots, they did everything they needed to win. They made the big play when it mattered, getting that fumble, and they really, sent a lot of pressure at Jared Stidham, and he didn't handle it very well. Like I said, I think Bo Nix's legs would have been extremely valuable in this game. Who knows if they would have, changed the outcome, but because they were coming after Jared Stidham all day long, and he didn't really handle it well. But again, I don't expect much from him as far as that goes because he didn't play a game all season. Patriots move on, and let's move over to the NFC Championship game. All right, moving on over to the NFC side of things, we got Rams Seahawks, and I didn't catch a lot of this game. I will admit I was pretty sad after the Broncos lost and didn't really want to watch any more football, but I went back and watched some tape, watched some of the highlights, and obviously looking at the box score here, holy cow, it was the Jackson Smith-Njigba versus the Puka Nacua show. Total fireworks. I feel like every game these teams play are total fireworks. I think every matchup came down to one score, and yeah, these are honestly probably the 2 best teams in the playoffs especially with, the Broncos not having Bo Nix in that last game. So it's a shame that this had to be the NFC Championship and not the Super Bowl, because personally, like I said, I'll get more into the Super Bowl here in a second, but I think the Seahawks are going to win that pretty handedly, in my opinion. But yeah, great game. Not a lot of defense being played, although there weren't that many points scored. There was a lot of yards, and I think a lot of those field goals they got held to down in the red zone were obviously good stands by not the Seahawks and the Rams. But yeah, a lot of passing yards. Both quarterbacks had great games. Yeah, it's just kind of unfortunate that Stafford and Puka put up this performance and weren't able to come up with a win. Like I said before, the corners for the Rams are a disaster, and it really came to show in this game. Jackson Smith and Jigga went nuts against them. But to be fair, he is one of the league's better receivers, so I don't know how much we can blame on them. The run game for Seattle honestly wasn't that great. I kind of said that before, that Rams defensive line is very good, and they really showed that, holding them to 2.9 yards per carry. The Seahawks, on the other hand, didn't do a great job of guarding the run, and it's very fortunate that it didn't end up coming back to bite them in this game. Lots of fumbles in this game, I noticed as well. So, but yeah, I think the Seahawks were the better team. They obviously pulled out the win in this one, and they move on to the Super Bowl to face the Patriots. Like I said, I'll get into what I think about those games. Let's talk a little bit about what this means for the Rams. I'm recording this after the NFL honors, and Matt Stafford did win the MVP, and he did say he's coming back next season, so that's really exciting for Rams fans. A lot of speculation on whether or not the Rams are going to pick a quarterback in the upcoming draft. I definitely think it's possible. Stafford obviously can't play forever. He's really getting up there. Obviously, he just won an MVP, so he's still playing at a great level. But especially with the injury concerns before the season, those definitely can pop up again, especially at his age. So, they're definitely going to run it back next year. I think they got their main core back. And, if they can pick up a few pieces, definitely in that secondary, this team will definitely be back contending for another title. So yeah, let's move on to the Super Bowl. All right, everybody, last game of the season. The Super Bowl is finally here. Patriots, Seahawks. If you would have told me that the Patriots and Seahawks would be in the Super Bowl before the season started, I would have told you go back to the mental asylum, because there's no way that these teams are making the Super Bowl, and yet here we are. Drake May in his second season, him and the power of friendship have really willed them way to the Super Bowl. Mike Vrabel, I think, has played a big part in that. I think he's a great coach. I don't know why the Titans let him go. And the Seahawks, Sam Darnold, after having a brutal showing in the playoffs last year with the Vikings, gets a huge contract from the Seahawks and, takes him to a Super Bowl. He's been great. I think that defense has really been easy to lean on. They've been absolutely incredible. And, yeah, it's going to be a great matchup. I think the Seahawks are going to take this one. I think I have them covering the spread as well, 4.5. Bear with me. Last two times I've talked about the spread and if a team's going to cover or not. And the opposite has happened. Like last time I said the Seahawks weren't going to cover the spread against the Niners, and they beat the piss out of them. And the last time I said the Rams were going to cover by a mile, they almost lost to the Panthers. So don't listen to me. I'm terrible at giving betting advice. So do what the opposite of what I say, and you'll be rich. So, but yeah, I still think the Seahawks are going to win this one. I just think they have a lot more talent than the Patriots do, and I think that eventually is going to prevail. Obviously, the Patriots have willed their way to all these victories, but I think their devil's magic is going to run out here. Gonzo is going to be on JSN a lot of this game, and I think that's going to be a matchup to watch for sure. See if because a lot of people are saying that he doesn't get open against good corners, but I don't know if that's the case. I think people are just grasping at straws there. But Gonzo's a great corner, and we'll see how that matchup goes. Another matchup to watch, Rashid Shaheed versus the entire Patriot special teams, because he has been an absolute animal. People are comparing him to Devin Hester. I think we should pump the brakes on that. I don't think he's Devin Hester quite yet. He's had, he's a good returner, and he's made some big plays, but let's relax. Devin Hester is the greatest returner of all time, and let's not go throwing around that title to just anybody. But I think he's a great player, and obviously he makes a huge impact on the special teams. So they're definitely going to have to watch out for him. Sam Darnold versus Drake May. I definitely think the Patriots have the upper hand as far as the quarterback goes. Drake May didn't play great last week, but there was kind of outstanding circumstances, and obviously he's been kind of struggling his way along in these playoffs, but I definitely think if he can play a good game and really elevate his receivers, then I definitely think they're going to have a chance. But this defense is tough. There's not going to be a lot of open receivers, and they've been obviously smothering teams all season long. So, all right, guys, so those are the recaps for the conference championship games and my predictions for the Super Bowl. Sorry, it was a little bit of a shorter video. There obviously was only 3 different things to talk about, but I really hope you guys did enjoy. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and we'll catch you on the next one.